All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We're going to be getting started in just a moment, in a couple of minutes, in about 2 minutes, we're going to be getting started. So I want you all to share this out on your Facebook pages to your other places that you have connections and friends and family. And we're going to be getting started in just about 2 minutes. So tonight is going to be a conversation about marriage, about actually getting married, about the process before the nikah. And we'll talk about exactly what that means for those of you who are new to the terminology of nikah, what that means. And we will have a little nighttime conversation with the beautiful Dr. Aneesah Nadir, author of the forthcoming book. It's coming out next Saturday, you all. Next Saturday, the 25th. You all are invited to the graduation. And that is going to be a virtual graduation. And I'll give you more information about where to join us then. So we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. I want you all to share this out on your pages so that we can reach more people, because you all know we got some stuff going on with marriage. So we need everybody to be in this conversation. So I want you to share this out with others, and we're going to have a nice evening. All right, sound good? So in the meantime, I want you all to just chime in, let us know where you're joining us from. So do a little comment, if you will. That way we can also make sure that the comments are working. Bam! So do a comment and let us know where you are joining us from. All right, where you're joining us from. Good. Okay, so let's see. Awesome. All right. So we're going to get started in just about 1 minute now or so. We'll do a little. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. At least where I am, Eastern Standard Time. Good evening. My name is Zarina Alamin. I am the founder of the Power Author Academy and Book Power Publishing. We are a Detroit-based self-publishing company and author coaching services where we offer assistance and guidance and support to people who want to share their message, people who want to leave their legacy, people who want to use a book to build their business and their impact in the world. They come to us, we assist them in helping get their messages out there. So this evening, I have the wonderful opportunity to introduce you to a new author, Dr. Aneesah Nadir, and she is the author of Before the Nikah, Proven Principles to Help Single Muslims Choose Wisely and Build Strong Marriages. So her book, Before the Nikah, is coming out next Saturday, the 25th. Next Saturday, September 25th, you will be able to not only have another conversation with Dr. Aneesah, but also you'll be able to pick up the book on September 25th. And our goal, you all, our goal, you know, when you're doing indie releases, we don't have Oprah budgets. We don't have Michelle Obama and Barack Obama budgets, right? So we're going grassroots. We're going straight to the people. And what that means is that we need everyone to help us reach #1 bestseller on Amazon on our launch day. And that is September 25th. So we want you all to hold off. Don't purchase the book today. Don't purchase it tomorrow. Purchase it on September 25th so that we can help this book get to #1 on Amazon and be able to get some sharing out there into the world. So September 25th, it is going to be released. Go to Amazon and be able to purchase it on September 25th. All right? That sound good, everybody? All right. So now I am going to introduce our speaker for the evening. And she is well known in many of the circles. So if you're new to her, you're in for a treat. But Dr. Aneesah Nadir is an award-winning pioneer in mental health and the American Muslim community. As a social worker for 4 decades and trailblazing leader in the healthy Muslim marriage movement, Dr. Nadir continues her commitment to helping improve the quality of life of the individuals, families, and the communities that she serves. She has had a fulfilling career implementing programs that tackle issues before they become insurmountable problems. For over 20 years, you all, 20 years as a university professor, while she educated and mentored blossoming social work professionals, Dr. Nadir has taught Muslim singles the principles and skills she shares in this new book, Before the Nikah. So Dr. Aneesah, she's just a boss, right? And she's also one of my aunties. So I just love the fact that she has been in the trenches for so many years. She has been doing the work. You know how there are some people that talk about stuff and then there's some people that actually do it. So she's been doing the work. So I want, and Dr. Aneesah, go ahead, unmute yourself, and we're going to give you a round welcome to the Power Author stage.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're
it's a pleasure to be here with you.
You're welcome. Awesome. All right. So let's jump right into it. We're talking about this book, right? Before the Nikah. And we're talking about getting married. We're talking about this epidemic, I think. I call it an epidemic. I think you call it an epidemic as well, right? Of what is happening in the Muslim community around marriage. So can you tell me, first of all, like, why is it before the Nikah and not just the Nikah? What do you mean by before the Nikah?
So what I mean by before the Nikah is before you get married. Most people spend most of their time planning. You know, first of all, people are still getting married. People are getting divorced, but they're also still getting married. And those who are getting married are spending much more time planning the wedding than preparing for the marriage. And this book is about helping people to choose wisely and prepare for a healthy, long-lasting marriage.
Got it. All right. So why do we need this? Like people, as you said, people are getting married. You also said they're getting divorced. Like why, what are some of the reasons that you've seen that made you want to actually write a whole book about choosing wisely and principles and all of that? Like what are some of the things that you've seen gone wrong?
So this is very interesting because as I said, people are still getting married, but nationally, we've got a 50% divorce rate. That means 1 out of 2 people are getting divorced. And in the Muslim community, we've got at least a 1 out of 3 divorce rate. And some of my colleagues in the field are saying that anecdotally and in their caseloads, they're seeing more. And those people who are staying married, they're not very happy. Many of them.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it is sad. There certainly are healthy marriages. I'm very grateful to say I'm in a healthy marriage and a happy marriage. But I do want to say that there are certainly a lot of people who are staying married for lots of different reasons. They're staying married because of the kids. They're staying married because it's cheaper to keep her. They're staying married for other reasons, but they're not happy. And they're not in a compassionate, loving marriage. There's a lot of drama still going on. And what I've seen is that from my years in the field as a social worker, having been had my own clinical practice, and just being in the community and helping in the community, I've seen people who are getting married and have issues that I felt like could have been addressed before they got married. I'm a prevention specialist also. So I have this tendency to look at things and to see like, what could we have done to have prepared people or made things better before people got into a problem, whether it was marriage or any other kind of issue. So I try to look, preventively and proactively. And so that's what this book is about.
I love that preventative approach versus like when someone's having a problem and then of course they go to counseling at that point, which is very important, but you're coming at it from the beginning and saying, okay, if I can help these people choose spouses wisely, choose the correct person that's going to be the best fit for them, then we can prevent them even getting into many of those issues that come later. Okay. So I know you have a course. We're going to talk about that later, your Before the Nikah course, because a lot of people have gone through that and they've been able to really learn from you one-to-one and get these things really embedded. But I want to be able to share with those who are watching today and those who may watch the replay later. So, when we're talking about preparing to find a spouse, preparing to get married, what is one of the things that you feel is critical for whether a woman or man? What is one of the things that you feel is critical for them to really understand and get a grasp on before they embark on the marriage?
So first of all, I'm glad that you said whether they're a woman or a man, because this program and this book is for men and for women. In fact, we're looking for more and more men to, pick up the book and join the class. We don't, we tend to see more women doing that. But, what's one of the things that's critical? I'd say one of the first things is getting to know yourself. Most people, many people are getting married without even knowing who they are. And when you don't know who you are, you don't know the strengths and the weaknesses that you bring to the table. You don't know, what your value system is. You don't know what's important. It's hard to kind of determine, who will be compatible with you, what you're looking for in a potential spouse. And so I think that that's one of the first things that we're starting with in our course and in the book is, who am I? And I say, I've titled that chapter, "To Thine Own Self Be True." Not only who am I, but who am I truly? Who am I honestly? Who am I really deep down? Because when I take a look at myself and I think back to how I was raised, what are some of the messages I received and the things I saw growing up, those things impact me today. And so it's important for me and for anyone who's, getting married to begin to think about who is the real me and what does that mean? What are some of the things that even will be triggers for me down the road? And who will be the kind of person that will be a good match for me, given what I experienced growing up and who the person I am today?
Mm-hmm. So this kind of scares me a little bit because I know a lot of people have a long list. I need this in a spouse. I need this. I need this. I need this. They have this long list, this laundry list of expectations and requirements and things that they are looking for in a spouse. And when they think about it, they think, like, I feel like I know myself. I think I know myself. And what you're saying is that you're finding is that a lot of people don't truly know themselves. But how do you actually, like, if you have someone that is one of those people that believe they know themselves, how do you open their head enough to realize no, you still need to go through the exercises. You still need to take the time to really get to know yourself. The people who think they do.
That's an interesting question. The thing is that most people are kind of going along this path and they think they know. And I don't, that's a big question to ask, because people really need to take time with themselves. And not everybody, Zarina, really wants to do that because it's scary. So a lot of people have pushed things back or pushed things down because maybe part is coping because of the experiences that they had as they were growing up, and they don't really want to attend to those things. Mm-hmm. So, but for people who really want to have a healthy marriage, I would spend time with them, both in the course, in coaching, and then in counseling, helping them to kind of address things, not to open it up to a point where they're in pain. I mean, because some of this is it may be painful. I know that as I was growing and maturing, I realized that there were some things that I hadn't really attended to, and that it impacted the person I was in and the marriage that being married to my husband. So it's going to be different for different people, I think, given what they've experienced and how grave a situation, how traumatic their issues were.
Mm-hmm. This is good information. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I see some new people joined us. For those of you who are just joining us, we are here with Dr. Aneesah Nadir, who is the author of Before the Nikah. And she is a social worker. She's a specialist with preventative measures to help people prepare for good marriages, right? They want to help people have good marriages, not just one of those sucky marriages where I'm married, but you're miserable, right? You want people to have good, as she calls it, sakinah. She calls it sakinah, tranquility-filled marriages in their lives. So we're going to be learning some principles. The first thing that we learned so far is that you must know yourself. And as she said in the book, is to thine own self be true. So you're not faking it. You're not thinking you're 100% perfect, any of those things. Like, you are really getting to know yourself at the core. And then, of course, once you know yourself, then you can be truthful and honest about who it is that you're going to be marrying. So, all right. So we got that part. Now, let's kind of, and then one more announcement, if you will. For those of you who are just joining us, Dr. Aneesah will be having a conversation today. You can leave questions in the comments, but we'll also be speaking back with Dr. Aneesah on next Saturday, September 25th. And that is going to be the group launch for Dr. Aneesah and 7 other authors who are producing and publishing their books on September 25th. So all of you are welcome to join us. The link to that is on the screen. We want to see you there. If you RSVP to come, you'll also be able to win some nice, cool prizes and stuff, some technology and publishing goodies that we're going to be sharing with you. And share this out to others as well. Share it out, share it out, share it out on your Facebook pages. All right, so let's get back into it. All right, now we've talked about ourselves, right? We have at least the first thing that we need to do individually as someone who is seeking a sakinah / tranquility filled marriage. Now, on the other side, you're saying in the book that you need to choose wisely, right? We need to choose wisely. What exactly does that look like?
So basically what that looks like is taking some time, as I said, to get to know yourself, and then determining what are some of the characteristics that would be suitable or compatible with you. Okay. And then with the help of people who know you and care about you, we call it a marriage support team, then begin to look and see what's out there, begin to explore the possibilities. And then,
wait.
Okay.
We
go too fast. Okay,
we are not about to just get over it. This is the critical part right here. You're like, okay, look out there, but what the heck? How are you actually supposed to go ahead and look for a spouse? So your book is centered around Muslims. So we're going to center the conversation around that community, right? Mm-hmm. So do you mean go to masjids? Are you saying look up apps? Or like, what exactly are you saying to look for someone?
Okay, that's really important. Important because there are lots of different ways to the matrimonial process, to engage in the matrimonial process. So people are on dating or on matrimonial apps nowadays. They are meeting people at work. They are meeting people at school. They are having friends, introduce them. They are working with matchmakers. They are having their parents, kind of introduce them to, someone that maybe their family friend's son or daughter, so there are lots of different ways. I respect all of those ways. Okay. Because there are lots of different, and not one way fits all people. Okay. And especially for those of us who live here in the United States, we're going to meet people in different ways. But the thing is once you do meet somebody, then it's going to be important to vet to see if that person has the kinds of characteristics that will be suitable, that will be suitable to you, and that you have the characteristics that will be suitable for them. The thing is that when we are choosing wisely, what we are doing is we're taking some time. We're being thoughtful. We're not just looking at, oh, this is a fine looking guy, or she's a cutie. That's not enough. Although beauty is one of the aspects we might look for. Even wealth might be another aspect we might look for. And in our
I know I'm kind of shallow. It's true.
And I'm not saying cute is good. I mean, you want that attraction, you want that chemistry. That's going to be important. But for it to sustain a lifelong marriage, there's going to need to be that plus. And,
Right.
you know, in our religion, we know that one of the bigger pieces are faith. But even in our faith, you know, that still needs to be compatible because we're at different places in our faith. Some people, you know, we can be Muslim and getting married, but we may be Muslim and we may be Muslim and strongly practicing, Muslim and moderately practicing, Muslim in name only. So what does that really mean? And so that's that I'm talking about, getting in there and asking some of the hard questions. You know, what does that really mean? You know, things like, what's your love language? You know, are you somebody who love words of affirmation, or gifts a big part of your love language? You know, so we need to kind of get a sense of that. What's your communication style? You know, are you somebody who's just very reserved and passive, in your communication, or are you very much an extrovert and you're out there and you love talking and it just means so much to you to be able to have a conversation? So all of those things I think are important, but I don't think that most people have taken time to determine whether or not those qualities exist in the person. They say, it's good, I think it'll work. And some people are even talking about they'll change, or I'll change.
Yeah.
You know, they'll change once we get married. It'll be okay. That's not reality. That is not reality.
You can't change nobody. Half of us can't even start like some type of, routine for ourselves, some type of discipline routine for ourselves. So how are we going to help and change somebody else? But going back to like the religiosity, I was talking to one of my friends, and he's looking for marriage now. And so we were talking, and he was saying that, like, I don't want one of those super Muslims, I don't want one of those super Muslims. And he was saying that, he knows himself, right? He knows how he practices. He knows the things that would be good for him and the things that, may not. And then sometimes some people kind of, as you mentioned, in their case, they may have things that they overlook, and they think that this is going to be a good fit for them, long term, and it ends up not really, hitting the mark or whatever. Yeah.
I know the story of a young person who got married, a young woman, and the groom was presented as someone who was very religious, and it looked as though the parents really wanted to present him that way, and also wanted to find him a girl who would help him to be more religious, but he wasn't religious. And in fact, he was somebody who would go out and party, but they presented him as somebody who was just a very religious person. No, to your own self be true. If you are somebody who, you're not super religious, in fact, you don't even like going to the masjid all that much, then maybe marrying somebody who likes to go to the masjid on a regular basis, and they like to spend Taraweeh in the masjid all night, all 30 days, that's not a good fit for you. That may not be a good fit for you. If you love to, maybe go hiking and go to the gym, you're really outdoorsy, and you meet somebody who's really a couch potato and they just really don't like that, may not be a good fit for you. So those are just a few of the things. If you really love family and you love being around family, but the other person is just like, no, it's just me and you, I'm not really interested in all of that bonding time, that may not be a good fit for you. And these are some of the things that we really need to kind of get to, and we need to know. So what, and I heard you say earlier about, some people have this really long list, and I think we need to make that list, and then we need to sort that list out in terms of what are priorities, what are absolutes, and what really aren't. What are some of the things you can hold with? If there's certain things you can hold with, they're not absolutes, then okay, we put that on the I can hold with this list, I can hold with it on that list. And then the things that are really absolutes, absolutely will not marry, or absolutely must haves, then that's a different list. And they weigh differently. And so when we get into the vetting process, that's when we kind of take a look at, what weighs more heavily than another, depending upon what are some of the absolutes and what are some of the things you can hold with.
Yeah. So, okay. So how do you determine any differences, or do you see any differences, with your clients, with your students, with the people that you've worked with in the past, you have, like, I don't know if it's newly single, but I've been single for 2.5 years, I think, maybe 2.25, I don't know, something like that, right? Somebody else who's been single maybe for a longer time, or someone else who has never been married. So do you find that there are many differences in the process depending on your relationship history, or is the process to be followed the same, for all of the people, regardless of your history?
I would say generally the process is similar, at least as we are starting out. Now we're going to continue to do some research. We're going to continue to hone this, because we're working on it. We're massaging it and we're working on it. But one of the things I can say is that there's some basic things that we want to do. I said you need to spend time getting to know you. If somebody is newly single, maybe they want a relationship, maybe there were challenges in a relationship. I don't advise them to rush right back into another relationship without spending some time with that, and honoring the fact that this was a loss, whether it was the best thing you needed to do or not, but still it's a loss, and now you got to kind of see where that fits for you, and then get to a point where you are your whole and healthy self again. And then
how long that take? 5 months, 6 months, 10 years? How long that takes? I know
it's going to be different for different people, but I would say it's certainly not less than 6 months. I think for most people, it takes some time. It takes some time to really see where you are and kind of really assess what happened, so because you don't want to bring into the next relationship
baggage,
some of the problems and challenges that you had in the previous relationship. So I think that's going to be important. I think that as we do that, I think I'm going to just really say that it's going to be different for different people. The timing is going to be different. But one of the things we talked about is seasons. We all have different seasons, and the observation of seasons, and who I am and who the other person is, my prospective spouses. We're going to have to take some time to take a look at that. But the main thing is to give yourself time to see where you are and what season you're in, and whether or not this is the best season for you to kind of begin to re-engage.
Okay. All right. So let's jump into this vetting process. And if there are any questions, you all type them into the chat box. We definitely want to be able to bring your questions to Dr. Aneesah, because you get the opportunity to speak to her now, for free. So take advantage of it. I'm taking advantage. So take advantage of it for yourself as well. So, when we're talking about this vetting process, right? So I've been having a lot of conversations with friends, even before and then also now, about this vetting process. And what we find is that sometimes, as you said, some people are like really easygoing, thinking that, I don't really need to vet them that much, as long as they're, quote unquote Muslim, is going to be fine. And then you have some other people like, nah, his hairline was a little bit too far back, and like that's cut it off. That's too much. Somebody else, she a little bit too thick. Cut it off. That's too much, or whatever. So, for you, when you're talking about your people, like, what do you see as some of the key things that need to be considered when it comes to vetting?
Okay. So in the vetting process, part of the vetting process is really the process of really getting to know your perspective. Okay. And when I say no, I'm talking about capital KNOW, no. I'm not talking about the little no. He's a nice brother. He prays at the masjid. He comes for Fajr. He's at every Juma. Not that. No, that's not enough. Okay, not the, she's a really nice sister. We see her at the masjid, or we see her part of MSA. That's not enough. We need to begin to know more about that person in terms of their qualities and characteristics, but we also need to get some receipts with regard to whether or not, that person is who they say they are. Okay. So one of the things that I have to say, and I start this in my class, and I tell them, I said, do you want me to be real with you? And they say yes. Okay. One of the things we have to realize is that some people lie. Okay.
Mm.
You know, it's taken me a while, even though in the Quran it clearly states that some people lie, some people are hypocrites, some people are not honest. It's taken me a while because I guess I didn't really want to own up to it myself. But that is part of it. So part of the vetting process is also determining whether or not people are honest, and who are they honestly, and who, and that's why I say you got to start with you. So you can, how can you tell if somebody else is honest if you're not being honest? Okay. So that's going to be really important. One situation.
Wait, but yeah, okay. Before we get in that situation, and put it like market, because I'm trying to figure out how are we supposed to really be able to tell if somebody's lying? If you got the family members that will cover up for people, if you got community members that will cover up for people, like how do you truly tell if someone's lying? And then the other thing I often hear people say within our community and even outside is that like you'll never know anybody until you really live with them. Until you actually move in with them, you'll never really know them. So you can do all that stuff ahead of time, but you still don't know them. So what do you say to this, like with family members covering up and then people saying you'll never really know somebody until you live with them anyway?
Yeah, that is so real, Zarina. I mean, even in our community, we say, we should cover up. We should give people 70 excuses, and we should cover up. That's part of, the thinking that many have. And while I appreciate that to some degree, when it comes to marriage, there's no covering up. Okay. Marriage and business as Muslims is really important. And it's part of our responsibility as the people who are going to be giving the reference and sharing information about that person, to be honest. And also it's going to be really important that in the process of all of this, that we do spend some time ascertaining how they are in terms of finances, how they are in terms of, is this somebody you've traveled with? Is this somebody you've done business with? Is this somebody that you've lived with? So those are the people that we want to talk with about, who that person is. And then we want to be able to observe over time. That's what the seasons are. We need to be able to look at people over time, not just, I mean, it's interesting. We even did it. My husband and I, we got married in like 3 months. Today, with what I know and what he knows now, we would not have done that. But, Allahu Alam, God knew best and he put us together, and I'm very grateful. But I'm saying that we really do need to have time. My daughter-in-law and son gave this analysis of analogy of you going to purchase a house. When you're going to purchase a house, you take time. You're taking a look to see if there's any termites in there. You're going to get, the what do you call it? The assessment to, that the inspectors in there and everything. Why would we do any less than that for a future marriage? We're going to even do a whole thing to see what the school system is like, what the crime rate is like, what the economics, economic opportunities are. But for marriage, oh, he looks good, she looks good. Oh, we don't know. I mean, we're not going to really know till we get together. No, we really can. Allah has given us He's given us ayahs or signs that are in ourselves, in our heart. We can feel also some things, but oftentimes we don't pay attention to them. We just ignore them. Sometimes I've spoken to people and I've said, did you get any like signs or feelings that maybe this triggers things that, I had some, but I just ignored them.
So red flag means like, it's not just like, oh, it's a flag on the play. Like you need to actually pay attention to those red flags. Yeah.
I feel like those are messages that God is sending to us. And he's saying, no, take a look at this, pay attention to this, and look at it over time. One of my dear sister friends, she said that go take a drive with your perspective and see how they act. Get them, take a drive in like LA rush hour, LA rush hour, and see how they act. You want to spend some time, and I'm saying in the most
chaperone. Let me just put that in there.
I was going to say in the most halal way. But But these are things that are important to see how people act and how they treat other people, in the process, because how they treat other people, even though maybe their mama said, oh, he's a good boy, he was well raised, but then you're out in a group and you see how he treats the wait staff,
Right. Right.
and how he talks to people. Is that somebody that you want in your life? Is that somebody who's going to be compatible with you, he or she? So,
Right.
and I might say he, but I know that there are women who do the same thing. So this is not a thing against the brothers. This is important for brothers to pay attention to the kind of woman that might be their prospective spouse as well.
Absolutely. So, if your friend is a cheater or a beater, or if that this chick, just marries people just to get their money, or does whatever she does, or she's just not a good person, you cannot just, oh, they're getting married. Like, you have a responsibility, especially if they come to ask you. But let me ask you this real quick, and then we're going to move on and answer some of the questions that come in. Now, what is my responsibility if I do know that someone is a cheater or a beater, or if I know that this chick is just not right, in the head? If I hear that they're marrying somebody, am I supposed to go out of my way and reach out to that, to the potential spouse and be like, look, hey, you might not know this, but such and such and such and such. Or, is it just when someone comes to me and they ask me personally, like, what is my community responsibility if I know something about somebody, but they don't ask me?
I think every one of us feels that community responsibility in a different way. I feel very strongly that if you're my sister and I care for you, that I want to be able to let you know, or let your Wali know, or someone who's, like, as I say, part of your marriage support team. That's that village that's around you, that's helping you to make the best selection. At least maybe go have a conversation with them to say, I'm really concerned. I don't think this person is going to be a good fit, and this is why. And I'm being sincere about it, and I can tell you these reasons. And that person who cares about you, those people who care about you, should be then really listening firmly, and then doing some background checking. Maybe they want to back that up. Okay, this person said this. Maybe we need to corroborate that. Some people are going to say, no, that's their problem. That's not my business. But I don't think that really is. I don't see how we're going to actually build healthy communities if we don't feel like a village. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean that, and we need to do it in the best way, because Allah tells us to, one, argue a beautiful argument, to give good nasiha, and so we need to do it in a good way. We're not trying to destroy anybody's reputation, but at least we might say, I'm concerned that this might not be the best fit, because people may not know, and how would they know? Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's open up for Q&A. I see some questions that have come in, and I want to, I'll try to go in order of these questions. So let's see. The first question is from Shahrazad, and she's asking, is age difference a challenge? Is age difference a challenge?
So age difference between men and women, I don't know if it's the age, the number, that's as much the problem as it is the level of maturity. Because remember, Khadija radiallahu anha, she was many years older than the Prophet, peace be upon him. He was only 25. She was in her 40s. And what she observed was his behavior and his level of maturity and his level of sincerity. And so if that difference in age still makes you a good fit, then that's not a problem. But if the age level doesn't, that disparity in age is a problem, if you're feeling like you're, his mom, or he's feeling like you're his mom, that's not a good fit. But if the age level is compatible, even though, one may be much older or younger, then it may work. It may work, especially what we're looking for is emotional maturity in this process.
And connection, I guess. Yeah. So emotional maturity and connection, more so than just the age. So Shahrazad, if you want to be a cougar and you got this little man over there that's, you know, years and years younger than you, and you guys vibe, go for it. Don't feel any type of way. All right.
And do the proper vetting.
And do the proper vetting. And do the proper vetting. So let's go to Chris's question. So Chris is asking, how can premarital counseling help in the vetting process? How can premarital counseling help in the vetting process?
Okay, so premarital counseling is one of the activities that I advise people to engage in. I usually start out with premarital education. So I want to give you some knowledge, oftentimes in a group, oftentimes as a single person before you even select somebody. And then we might move to either premarital coaching or premarital counseling. The premarital counseling might be counseling for you individually. Let's say, for instance, you're going to be a blended family. And now it's going to be maybe you as the new husband have never had children before, and you're marrying a woman who has children, and not only does she have children, but the non-custodial father is still in the picture. The question is, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to manage things like discipline? How are we going to manage when the children are spending the night at dad's and then they come back to your house and their behavior is different from what you were teaching them? How do you manage those kinds of things? So those are the kinds of things that we need to have some conversation about. You may even need to have conversation about, things that may be triggers for you from when you were growing up. Maybe you grew up in a family where you witnessed domestic abuse. Maybe, your parents were fighting one another. Maybe there's some conflict, how to manage conflict, how to fight fairly. Some of those things you're going to learn in a premarital education course, but then there may be some particulars. I think premarital counseling addresses the particulars that are unique to you as an individual and to you as a couple. And then they also kind of help you, again, to begin to assess, you can continuously answering the question along the way. Are we a good fit? Have we chosen wisely? Are we the best fit for one another?
And I think one of the most important things, is at the beginning, like giving each other an out, like if at any point in this premarital concept or while we're talking or whatever, if we find that this is not a good mutual fit, like, to you be your way, to me be mine, and it's not any problem, it's okay. Absolutely. I think so many people don't want to hurt someone. So many people don't want to, be the cause of anyone having some pain or such. They just stay in there and then they end up.
And Zarina, they do that rather to do it early, before the Nikah or before you sign the marriage contract, than to get in and, and you're in this, now you have 2 or 3 children and the children are impacted, your parents on both sides are impacted, the communities now. Yeah, better to do it. And that's why I really try to focus on the prospective spouses or potential spouses before they even get married.
Before they get married. And so notice also, you all, because I have some people that say like, oh, I sat down with the imam at the mosque one Sunday afternoon for 45 minutes and say, oh, we had premarital counseling. Like, that's not effective. And I mean, not to knock anything, not to say it's not fully effective, just point blank. So that's not the type of premarital counseling we're talking about. 30, 45 minutes jumping into the imam's, office and thinking that you really went through an extensive premarital vetting process. We're talking about real counseling with real professionals who know what they're doing. And it's a nice extensive process or whatever, Yeah. All right.
I actually had somebody say to me, Zarina, once, my course is actually a 12-week course. And I had a young woman say to me, well, can we condense this to just like, one Saturday on a weekend? And this person, somebody who's going to med school. And I said, what if we condense your medical school training to one weekend? And I'm like, I don't know if I want you to be my doctor then, know. So, and marriage is way more important. I mean, I'm, not to say that your profession is not important, but this is really just a lifelong partnership that we really want to be healthy. That's going to affect a whole lot of people, not just the two of you.
Mm-hmm. So let me just say thanks to Chris. Thanks, Chris, for that question on premarital counseling and the vetting process. And then let me thank Miss Kazi for the question on is age difference a challenge. All right, so now Sister Basila, who is another one of our power authors, you all will be able to meet her later. But her question is, what are the vetting responsibilities of the Wali? Now, Wali, we need to define that very quickly because not everyone may understand or know what that term means. So can you define Wali quickly and then tell us quickly, like, what are the vetting responsibilities of that Wali?
So the Wali is the guardian. That's a person who is like your father or your uncle, somebody who really cares about you and treats you. You are either their daughter or their sister, or they treat you like that and they care about you and they really are concerned for you. So the responsibilities are to really help you to know you. One, that person should know you. They shouldn't be trying to be even your parents, even your father. If your father doesn't know you and he knows that you like music, and then he's going to pair you up with somebody who just is like, music is haram, he obviously does not know you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not been in your life, and I mean, even though he might be there physically, but he hasn't been in your life, he doesn't know who you are. It's really important for the Wali to know who you are. I think the Wali also, this is a lifelong commitment. A Wali is not somebody who just hooks you up and signs the marriage contract and then they're out of your life. They need to be there in the future when you're having difficulty. They need to be there for arbitration and mediation. They need to be there to encourage and give wise counsel down the road. So the Wali is somebody who I believe has lifelong responsibilities to help you through. I believe how the phrase, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village, including the Wali and the other very important wise people in your life, to help you build a lifelong healthy marriage and relationship.
Mm-hmm. So let's get real, because I know you say this book is real talk. So let's get real. And I guess we're going to go like maybe an hour. So we maybe have 15 minutes or so. So let's get real, because I know some walis or some situations in which the wali, a sister may be a revert, or her parents may not be alive, or she may be an older sister that doesn't have, Muslim family members or anyone in her family that's blood that would step into that role. So in that case, she looks to someone in the community, right? She looks to a member of the community, whether it be an imam or another person that she may trust. And sometimes these walis be trying to get with the person that they are supposed to be like protecting or looking out for or whatever. So how do you address this situation of the wali? Like I had a uncle the other day tell me, yeah, I'm putting my application in, Z. I'm putting my application in. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear. Like, I thought you was my uncle. You know what I mean? So how do you have these, how do you control where someone's supposed to be a wali or in that like protective mode and they're trying to get with you?
Yeah, that's a problem. We had this conversation. I actually was doing an interview with Imam Nadim Ali the other day. He's an imam and a licensed professional counselor out of Georgia. And so we were having this conversation and he mentioned this issue as well. So what to do about this? So first of all, I think that as a community, we need to take the role of the wali more seriously. And that means also the wali who is the blood relative, but also the wali who's being entrusted. This isn't a manner, a trust. This is not something to be taken lightly. And this is something that you're going to be taken to account for on the day of judgment. And so when a sister who's new to Islam comes to you, or who maybe even is a veteran to Islam, but she doesn't have family to take this responsibility for her, then this is a huge responsibility. So I think that we need to have more discussions about this from the minbar. The imams need to be talking about this more. Our brothers need to discuss this further with our fellow brothers, because they're in the rooms with each other. You know, they're in the rooms talking to, and I'm an auntie now. I can say some things to the younger brothers. In fact, it's so funny. My husband, I don't know, he might be listening or not, but one time he was he was asked to be a Wali and to someone, and it didn't go well. One of the things we learned is that the person who was the prospective lied, and he said some things that really, that they were dishonest, and there was, but we learned from it. There was nothing we could do about it till afterwards, but we learned from it. But later on, he was asked to be a Wali, and I, as his wife, I said, nope, you're not allowed to be Wali anymore. If you don't know that sister, and you can't be, and together, like, we can't provide responsibility for that sister, then it can't be done. You can't be the Wali, and it ain't gonna be done. So he's like, okay. Now we had another young sister, a sister in our community, and then he got to know that sister, and he was at a place where he could be a good, strong Wali for that sister, and he did a really good job. So I've seen the different aspects, and I also, I'm an auntie and a leader in the community, so I spoke up. I'm like, no, we can't be doing this. That's not right. Because on the day of judgment, that's going to come back to you. When it said, were you there? Did you witness that marriage? Did you do all you could to vet and to ascertain whether or not that person was good for the person that you were serving as Wali for? That's going to come back to you. And I don't want that to come back to my husband. So sisters, we got a responsibility. Imams, you all have a responsibility to your fellow brothers. And I think that moms, we got a responsibility with our sons and so forth. And the sisters, you got to also take responsibility to listen to, if you've got a good Wali and he's sincerely advising you, then you got to take responsibility to listen to that advice and to take the advice of a wise elder who's sincerely there and he's taken the amana seriously. So,
Big deal. All right, so let's see. Any last questions? You all drop them into the chat box. The last thing I want to ask you about, Dr. Aneesah, is your course, because you have a course called Before the Nikah. And can you tell us exactly what this course is and who is it for? Like, who should actually sign up for the Before the Nikah course?
Thank you for asking that, Serena. So the course is called Before the Nikah. It is the course actually that this book is based on. So the course came before the book, and the course started out as a 6-week, 2-hour-a-week course, and now has expanded to a 12-week, 2-hour-a-week course plus an extra week for the graduation. It is a course that is geared towards singles, newlyweds, people who have been divorced or previously married, or widowed, and they are at a point where they want to learn some things, remind themselves, because they may have learned some things, but may have forgotten, or they weren't able to exercise the things that they thought they knew about marriage, particularly marriage in Islam. So this course is a combination of practical understanding and skills and knowledge. It's awareness building, but it's also a course that starts out with helping us to understand what is marriage in Islam. We hear Surah Rum, Surah 30, Ayah 21, and which tells us that marriage is about rahmah, or compassion, love, and sakinah, tranquility. But really, what is that? We know about some of the verses, that we're garments for each other. But what is that? So we spend some time discussing that. And then we also look at the Prophet, peace be upon him, as our example, because a lot of us grew up and we didn't have role models for what a healthy marriage is. I myself didn't have a real good role model for what a healthy marriage is, but we have the marriages of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and we have examples of what a healthy marriage is and should be. In terms of communication style and terms of how we support one another and engage one another, and how we treat each other and appreciate one another. And so this course encompasses all of that. We have one segment of the course that even talks about the legalities of marriage. And so one of my sister authors, who's also my daughter, is the guest speaker, guest presenter, guest faculty for the legal side of marriage. We talk about health and wellness. We talk about intimacy, parenting, in-laws. We talk about cross-cultural marriage, and so there are different aspects of marriage that we cover in this 12 weeks. And the students say this is still not enough. In fact, this year I have 3 students who are back for the second or third time to take the course again. And they're not the first. It's not the first time that we've had students retaking the course and getting the benefits out of, because the first time it's like, wow, first of all, I had one of the young women who's taking the course for the first time. She's 20 years old. She said, I didn't know there's so much to marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the first time. So then they hear all of this, and then like, I had to come back and hear this over again.
Right.
The course is even for people as young as 14 to 17 or 18 with their parent permission, but they need to be mature. So mature 14 to, as I really believe that we need to get to young people earlier. I had my one person I was speaking to, her daughter was going to be like 16, going to be 17 soon, getting ready to graduate. And I'm like, have they taken any premarital education course? No. And I could see the agitation and the nervousness. No, we just wanted to get to school. Well, I understand that. But what if she meets somebody like her first year in college and she's coming back to you? How have you prepared her for that? How have you prepared him for that? So that's why I think that, and I'm hoping actually that we might even be able to start providing this even as like a high school course. In high school, many of us we took home economics, and that's really good. We learned how to cook, but did we learn how to relate to one another?
It's really actually sad when you think about it. Like something that's so integral to our humanness, a relationship and marriage, and we don't actually learn anything. We don't learn anything in middle school. We go to school for 12 years before you go to college. They don't talk about relationships and how to relate to somebody, at all that time. And then you go to college and it's everything else except this thing that's going to be, hopefully for years and years and years of your life. It's actually kind of stupid.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. We spend years and years on, it took me, to get my PhD degree, of course, the 12 years of high school, the 4 years of undergrad, the 2 years of graduate school, and then 7 years. I'm like, goodness gracious. And I didn't get any of that in preparation for my marriage, so.
The biggest thing that impacts everything else in your life, impacts your business, impacts your finances, impacts your children, impacts everything else. We don't learn anything about it. So this is a key class, you all, and also a key book. Everyone should get the book, have it on not just have it in your library and on your shelf, but this is a book that you want to dive into. Even if you're already married, there are many gems that you can pick up out of Before the Nikah that can help you improve your current marriage, right? And then, of course, those of us who are going to be getting married, you want to dive in to make sure that you are always doing your best to really create this relationship that is such an important part of our lives. So this book, Before the Nikah, is coming out next Saturday. You can grab the book next Saturday, September 25th. September 25. You're going to be able to grab Before the Nikah. And for those of you who want to follow up with Dr. Aneesah Nadir, I will add her contact information to the top of this broadcast, so you'll be able to contact her. But Dr. Aneesah, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they want to learn about the class or just be able to maybe hire you for counseling or something? How do people get in touch with you?
So you can reach me by contacting me at draneesah@gmail.com. We also have a website, just launching our website, draneesah.com, and that will tell you a little bit more about the class. And then, of course, Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and certainly be able to reach me through then. And I look forward to being able to talk to any of you who have additional questions and would like to know more. Absolutely.
And Dr. Aneesah is Aneesah. All right, Aneesah. So Basila, I see we didn't get a chance to answer your question, but no worries, because Dr. Aneesah will also be live on next the 25th. And then, of course, you can always contact her through draneesah.com and also through Facebook as well. So, Dr. Aneesah, I want to really thank you for being here, for spending the time, but also, thank you for the 20 years that you have put into learning all of these things that you're sharing with us, and the work that you've actually done with real people. Thank you for that, because it's one thing to come and spend an hour with us, but this is like, 20 years in the making. And I just want to thank you for having, I guess, the goal, or having the desire to help in this realm, and then actually getting the training and doing the work to be able to help other people. So thank you, Dr. Aneesah.
Thank you. I really want to thank you also, Zarina. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for holding our hands this last year to help us actually get this book done. So we really do appreciate you and the efforts that you put forth to in the Power Author Academy. I know I speak for my sister authors and we are just really grateful. And so we look forward to graduation next week.
Yes. So graduation, you all, for the current students of the Power Author Academy is the 25th. As we said, go to powerauthoracademy.com/graduation. On that page, you will be able to see all of the authors and get a little bit of information about their books. And then on the 25th, we're going to have conversations with each author and learn more about them, their trials, their triumphs, their successes, and we'll be able to really dig in. So that's going to be on the 25th. So we're going to ask you all, pull out your credit cards on the 25th. Get ready to buy everyone's book. This is a wonderful opportunity to get everyone's book. You can get the Kindle version for just 99 cents. Or if you want the hard copy, if you're like a hard person like me, you want the hard copy, then you'll be able to buy the hard copy as well on September 25th. So even if you go and you see some books right now, don't buy them now. Wait until the 25th. All right. That's really important for them to be able to get, just higher in the rankings and such. All right. So love you all. Thank you. And have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.